This photographer and this camera have recorded a dizzying array of subjects over the decades. We catch up with Eric Clem.
Whether it's a new exhibition, a new book, or a new photo series, Eric Clem never runs out of projects. Every day he's in his studio working painstakingly. For the 73-year-old, being an art photographer is a passion as well as a profession. He prefers to use traditional analog equipment.
This is my 13 by 18 centimeter camera, a Swiss Sinar that's 30 years old and that I pretty much use all the time. There's a good reason for that, because it delivers the best quality, which I need for my very large photos. I still use film, not digital equipment like most photographers now do. It's old-fashioned, but galleries don't ask me how I make the photos. They just have to be good. This is my very first camera, given to me by my mother when I was a child. It's what I used when I began taking pictures. It's an old one from 1938.
Eric Clem's father died in World War II, leaving the family poor. Initially, Clem trained as a carpenter, waiting tables to finance his graphic arts studies. In Heidelberg, he got his big break with this shot of his first wife.
I became a photographer overnight. Suddenly, my work was gracing a double-page spread in Twin magazine back in 1968.
From there, his career took off. Clem quickly established himself as a fashion photographer. He traveled the world and was booked by agencies around the clock. After his impoverished childhood and youth, Clem basked in the success.
Of course, I was constantly surrounded by pretty girls. Men envied me because, first, I was lucky enough to get to photograph them, and second, I got paid to do it. It still boggles my mind today, but that's the way it was.
In 1976, Clem fell in love with a small uninhabited island, a tropical paradise of sand and palm trees.
Coco Island in the Maldives was my absolute dream. There's no question about it. It would have been anyone's dream.
Eric Clem left everything behind and leased the island. He built 8 cottages there.
I thought, if I build a small but classy resort, maybe bring in a French chef and some good French wine and champagne, it'll be a global success. And it was.
Leni Riefenstahl, Phil Collins, and Boris Becker were all guests on his island. After 20 years of island life, Clem settled in France. Retiring to the country at 50?
Far from it. I was far too active and far too young to retire. Back then, I thought the moment had come. I'd achieved all my goals. But after a while, I got cabin fever and knew I had to do something.
So he went to Salt Spring Island, off the west coast of Canada. Along with his wife and their 2 daughters, Clem made it his home. After a break of 2 decades, he started taking photos again, mainly landscapes and portraits. North America provided him with both inspiration and a market for his works. Galleries from Houston to New York and Toronto showed off his Metamorphosis series. He discovered this old car graveyard on Salt Spring.
I can honestly say there's no better place for me to work than here on the island. There are no interruptions. You can work in peace. I don't have any neighbors. My house is in the middle of nowhere. That's why a lot of writers, poets, painters, and sculptors live here. We often meet and exhibit our works together.
Several of his photo series have been published as books. Silent Warriors is a portrait collection of indigenous North Americans from 81 different tribes. Taken against a simple white backdrop without artificial light, the photos depict pride, heroism, and inner conflict. In his precise and unusual way, Eric Clem plays with the motifs he finds on Salt Spring Island, creating new and intriguing images. Clem spends lots of time composing his shots. He often takes just one or two. Whether atop Salt Spring Island's Mount Tuam, in Tuscany, or in Venice, he's prepared for just the right moment.
In my new landscape photos, I always try to capture a special extreme light. In the morning, right after sunrise, or in the evening just before sundown. Something nice. This isn't just there yet, but it should be in a while.
Aber es wird wahrscheinlich sehr schön sein nach einer Weile.